Welcome back, JB.
JB. Alex, you wearing a turtleneck right now?
Yes, I am.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
You weirdo.
No, you idiot. See the quarters up right here?
Look a little tight.
Hey, roll Cougars, by the way. Go Cougars.
JB, it's good to see you again after you were off a week for celebrating your birthday. How was that?
Big 24, it was a great little time. I remember the whole night and everything. So, that's what matters.
So is that a success or a failure for remembering everything?
And that's a good question. It's a good question. I'm going to take it as a success. The plan was to remember everything. So
good to have you back. We definitely missed your presence last week. But welcome back to another week of the Fantasy Alpha Radio Show. We're about 1/3 of the way through the regular season. And thanks for joining in, as always, every week, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. We have a lot to cover this week. There's a lot of injuries. The 49ers got their first loss to a backup quarterback. I thought that was pretty interesting. Alex, why don't you start off with how your fantasy team was doing this week?
I feel like you always want to start with me because I'm just going to have some absolutely terrible negative story. Well, you're wrong, host. So this week, it was actually quite interesting. I won in both leagues, boys.
Let's go.
Both leagues. But the one I want to focus on is the league that Jack and I are in, because Jack had probably looked at the score of my game and almost puked. Because I won on a PPR league, I won with 92 points. And what happened was, one of our dear friends, shout out David Schaffner, if he's listening in. It was like around Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was Thursday morning. I texted him, like as a good friend would do. Hey, buddy, you don't have a kicker or a defense in right now. And I'm projected to beat you by like 2 points, and I'm projected less than 100 points. So I'm going to be bad. Okay. Picks one up, picks kicker and defense up. Well, he doesn't realize it doesn't just automatically go into his starting positions. It goes right to his bench. And he didn't put him in, and I won 92-82. So solid win for the boys. We're back to 500. We're back.
There should be an asterisk next to that win. I think David was just listening. He was just listening to our podcast last week where we were talking about not having kickers and not having defenses. And he just really took that to heart. He's like, I'm not going to play defense or a kicker. So, worked out in your favor, Alex.
Jack, how did you do?
I just consistently get dubs the right way playing against teams that are playing a full team. I did sneak out a win this week. I won by a solid 2 points. I had some iffy management skills. I benched Derrick Henry because just the consistency hasn't been there. Daniel Jones was hurt. He's been on my team, so I started Mr. Russell Wilson. I tried to let him cook, but he did not cook. But my thankfully wide receivers showed up. Stephon Diggs is Mr. Consistent. He's wide receiver number 2, 20 fantasy points. Chris Godwin, Michael Pittman. They're carrying my team right now. My running backs they're iffy at best. Zach Moss, I'm worried that he had a great week, but I'm worried that this is his last good week with JT getting, I think, more of the reps coming up. So, but we're winning 3-3, still outside the playoffs, but 500. I'm all right with that. It's early on.
JB, how about you? How'd you do?
I took a loss this week. I had a really good pickup with Devon Achane. He's killing it. He wants to go ahead and get hurt. So I made a trade, which we can discuss in a later episode maybe, but I got Zach Moss, which he did well. I only did the trade really to get him. I know JT's coming back, but I needed some type of running back, and I still ended up losing. Dallas Goedert is just so bad. He's so bad. He's going to take down my team this entire year, I think, because he just can't score any points at all. Steelers defense being out, that hurt me. George Pickens as my wide receiver, that hurt me. I just have too many Steelers players on my team. So, but yeah, I took a loss, a hard-fought loss this week, though. I lost by about 20 points, so maybe not that hard-fought, but it was a tough one.
You'll bounce back.
Yeah, I'll bounce back. I'm 500 now because I lost last week as well. I wasn't on, but I was 3-1. I'm 3-3 now.
All right, host. How'd you do?
I won both my leagues this week. My 0-3 team is now 3-3. I have the longest win streak in that league, so definitely turning that franchise around.
These are the games that matter. That's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my friends were, crapping on me the whole first 3 weeks, saying, they were thinking of their punishment already for the end of the week. Yeah, I was supposed to go like streaking around the neighborhood or something. That doesn't sound like much of a punishment to me, though.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Sounds like a normal Tuesday night for you.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking. And on my other team, I'm 4-2 with Olave, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyreek Hill. An injury scare with him, though. I thought, another star wide receiver maybe going on IR, but luckily he came back into that game, still performed, puts up 30 points. But yeah, so far so good. 4-2, 3-3, in the middle of the pack in both leagues. So we'll see how it goes. But so far so good. Can't complain. But there have been a bunch of injuries that I wanted to start off the episode with. For running backs, I'm going to go with Kyren Williams. He's top 5 running back so far. He might be out for a few weeks. I saw the Rams are picking up a few no-name running backs to try to replace him. Unfortunately, they traded away Cam Akers, which they could be using probably right now. But Kyren Williams, he definitely was putting up like 20 points, 30 points a week. So I'm definitely going to feel his loss on my 3-3 team. So, even though I'm getting back Jonathan Taylor, I'm losing Kyren Williams, which sucks because he was kind of a diamond in the rough this year. And then on my other team, I lost Miles Sanders. I'm not really sure how long he'll be out, but it seems like Chuba Hubbard is a good backup for him. He got 15 points this week in my league and a touchdown. So, I thought Miles Sanders would ball out in Carolina, but so far it's not looking too good for him. And then I wanted to mention Anthony Richardson as well. I was kind of out on him from the start of the season, so I was unfortunately proven correct because you never like to see an injury occur to a player. But I kind of suspected going into the year that he was getting drafted way too high, over players like Kirk Cousins and some of those older quarterbacks like Matt Stafford, but that's always a risk you're willing to take, I guess, for a mobile quarterback like that. But right now, Anthony Richards going to be out for the year, so that sucks for those owners. But
did he decide on that year-ending surgery or whatever?
I'm not sure if he decided on it yet, but it's looking towards definitely he'll be out for the year at least. Did you guys face any injuries on any of your teams or anything like that?
I played against Justin Jefferson this week. I know we talked about that last week, so that definitely helped me out this week. I think some of the for me, Debo he's always hurt. He's always a risk to play. He's day to day with his shoulder, I think. But yeah, so he's always a risk to play. That whole 49ers CMC is a big one.
Yeah, Thackeray is a big one. He's still got his touchdown.
Yeah, been looking at Jordan Mason, I believe, is his backup. So I think for waiver wire pickups, he's a good look. But another one, Trevor Lawrence, I guess he's limited to practice this week. The Jags have been playing better the past couple weeks, which has been exciting for them now that they're back from London. So, yeah, those are the injuries that I saw. It stood out. We'll see how the 49ers offense comes back from these injuries. They might have to rely more on their defense.
Yeah, I had Deshaun Watson out again, shoulder injury. I know he's kind of week to week too. Even though big win for Cleveland this week, PJ Walker's PJ Walker as a third string, and DTR wasn't looking too good for him either. Even though Deshaun wasn't playing fantastic before, I'm sure he's the better of the 3 options. So kind of hope he comes back soon. And then, I don't know, hamstring injuries with running backs, it's just I feel like it's just going to be a season-long thing. I got Aaron Jones, Green Bay. The last 2 weeks, it's been, he's questionable, practicing a little bit, and then game day, he's not playing. So, I mean, he was on a bye this week. If he's, I'm going to be so mad if he's out again next week. If he's out after a bye week, this injury is much more serious than they're describing it to be. And at that point, all fantasy outlets, stop putting him as questionable. Green Bay, stop putting him as questionable. Just roll him out. Stop giving all of us hope the whole week and then taking him out an hour before game time.
Why did that happen to you already this year, Alex? Game makers?
What?
Didn't that happen to you already this week? Or this
Yeah,
year?
it happens every week. I'm sick of it. If you wake up that day on Sunday, if you're playing or not. Don't be messing around an hour and a half before game time. Be like, I don't know. Maybe I'll play, maybe I won't. And then screw us over because I know they care so much about us fantasy owners.
What about you, JB? Any notable injuries that besides Devin Achachne?
Yeah, that was last week though. I mean, I knew he wasn't going to play already. I guess I was going to say McCaffrey as well. Daniel Jones, he was out. Tyrod Taylor came in, looked pretty good against. I guess not pretty good. He really didn't do that well, but they almost pulled out that win. So, it wasn't too bad to see the Giants fans maybe have hope in somebody else because I really don't think that DJ is all that, to be honest with you. But other than that, nothing too notable.
You hear that, Jack?
What's that?
DJ's
Daniel Jones being out. Dude, I love Tyrod Taylor. Virginia Tech, he's a Hokie. Shout out to my brother Joe. I know he's listening. He's a diehard fan. I love Tyrod. I thought he was moving great. He's an old guy. Still got fresh legs. I mean, I'm excited for the Giants, to be honest. I don't know how long Daniel Jones is going to be out for, but a new look with Saquon back.
Yeah.
I think they got a favorable matchup against the Commanders this week, so we'll see.
Does anyone have Devontae Adams on their team? I can't remember.
I do in one of my leagues, yes. And I was going to get to him as one of my duds, but if you want to talk about him now, Dom, I can roast him if you want.
No, I was just going to relate it to the Jimmy G injury and I guess what you thought, how it would affect your team moving forward.
Yeah. Devontae is just back-to-back bad weeks. There was a close game against the Pats, but just 2 receptions off 5 targets. So there's just not a lot going there. My boy Matt with the question we trusted Zach.
Coastal. Roll Vikes, baby.
Off the wire to fill in for Pollard on the bye. Alex, go ahead and take that one. Roll Vikes, baby.
Oh man. I think I think you have to. It's 50-50. These running backs, it's just like it's a revolving door. It's hard to say. You can't even say you can trust Derrick Henry. You benched it. You didn't even have Derrick Henry playing. So whether this is a third string running back coming, just play him. He'll probably do better. He'll probably do better than Eckler and Henry and all of them this week. So you might as well give it a shot. I'm sick of running backs.
I really don't think running backs carry that much weight on a team, to be honest with you. Miles Sanders was so good on the Eagles, and, he goes somewhere else, and, who knows what's going on with that system, I feel like a lot of running backs production has to do with the system. Chauncey comes out, Mostert's right back in the system. He puts up 2 touchdowns, 120 yards. I don't know. I don't think running backs carry that much weight unless you're like CMC.
Yeah, I think it's obvious every team has multiple running backs too. So the odds every guy gets the ball in the red zone once you're relying on touchdowns.
Yeah.
There's just so many teams that are just running back by committee anymore. You're seeing so many teams. It's three backs have 8+ carries.
What about how about Jalen or Justin Fields? That's a pretty big injury. He was doing.
Oh yeah.
He had those comeback weeks with 20+ points. Injured again, doubtful for the foreseeable future. I don't know. That's going to affect DJ Moore big time. I I mean, I think he's maybe a flex play at best. I don't even know. He'd be a risky start moving forward. I don't know if any of you have DJ Moore, but
And that's throwing some too.
yeah,
Not that he could throw before that.
that's true. That's true. But Justin Fields, he was going, relatively high, or definitely top 10 quarterback in the drafts, and to see him injured, not looking good for the Bears. It's going to be hard to start pretty much anyone on the Bears, I'd say, moving forward until he's back in the lineup. And there's just one other player I wanted to mention, Trevor Lawrence. He is my number 1 QB in my 3-3 league. And, my fantasy year is kind of relying on him right now because he's dealing with a knee injury. Right now he's expected to play, but, if that continues to bother him or if they send him out there against the Saints and he just gets wrecked by the Saints defense, I could see Trevor Lawrence, missing a few games in the future, which would really hurt my team, considering my backup is Baker Mayfield, and I think he hurt his pinky, and he's, expected to be doubtful right now for the next game. So we'll see how that goes. But definitely a lot of injuries, I would say, the past 2 weeks. But why don't we go into the studs of this week? What do we think? JB, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. I was going to say Raheem Mostert because he did have 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I don't think many people expected him to do as well because even when him and Achante were both healthy earlier in the season, he was not doing that well. So I think that was a good performance by him. Of course, I got to give a shout out to my dude, Joe Burrow. He went ahead and got 3 touchdowns, 317 yards. I think he was like QB3 this week. So that was really eye-opening on his part. Looks like the Bengals are getting their stuff together and looking like the Super Bowl contenders they have been the past few years. So that's what I got for my studs.
All right, Alex, what about you?
He's got to keep this train rolling with Adam Thielen, boys. This man is like 100 years old, and he's still cooking. Like 11 catches, $145, and a touchdown. Just keeps dealing for arguably the worst team in the league. But, hey, he's the fantasy bright spot. Another receiver, Amon St. Brown, returning after injury. 12 catches, $124, and a touchdown. Big win for the Lions, too. 5-1 now? Yeah, 5-1 now. So 2 big performances from those wide receivers. Jack.
Man, I feel like nobody gives love to the kickers, guys. Justin the Leg Tucker had 6 field goals this week. He was 6 for 6 over there in London. Yeah, I think you guys need to give more love to the kickers and the defenses. We all have wide receivers. We all have running backs. Wide receivers, I do want to point out, though, is Stephon Diggs. Mentioned him. He carried my fantasy team this week. 16 targets. He's obviously Josh Allen's number 1. 10 receptions, 100 yards, even. They were playing against the sorry New York Giants. They almost lost. They should have lost. Bad play calls at the end of the halftime. I know you guys saw that.
And at the end of the game,
You
honestly.
said you're excited about the Giants.
I am. There's a lot of potential there. But, yeah, I don't know. Whatever. But my other one is Drake London with the Falcons. They had a tight loss against the Washington Commanders this week. 9 receptions on 12 targets for 125 yards. Desmond Ridder, I don't know if he's consistent at all. He had some bad interceptions in that game. The coach's face was just hilarious when he threw game-losing interceptions in that tight game. So I don't really trust Desmond Ridder at all or the Falcons in general. Bijan Robinson, I have in one of my leagues. He's the bright spot for me on that team. But, yeah, I had to shout out Drake London.
Yeah, I guess Justin Tucker must have heard me talking shit on him last week for only getting 5 field goals this year. So
You gave him the business, host.
I did. I definitely did. My studs this week, I definitely had Amon-Ra St. Brown, proving to be Jared Goff's number 1 go-to target. 13 targets, 12 catches, over 100 yards, plus a TD. Definitely ascending to that top 10, maybe even top 5 wide receiver this year. Chris Olave, I'll shout out him. He had a couple down weeks, but he's coming back. Even though he had a little injury scare, I think he hurt his foot. So it's something to keep note of looking forward if you own him. Who else do I have here? I had Adam Thielen. I just wanted to mention him again because, the past few weeks I've kind of been talking about those older players and how unreliable they are. But
past few weeks, you've been talking about that for the past months.
But as JB and Alex said that, Raheem Mostert, even David Montgomery, Adam Thielen, all older players proving to be essential this year in your fantasy wins if you have them. So I just wanted to correct myself in my incorrect statements. And then I also wanted to shout out Cooper Kupp, back from the injury, as if it never even happened, falling out, just as everyone kind of hoped and prayed that he would. But over 100 yards, 7 catches, 1 TD, like he didn't miss a beat. And Puka, he's actually staying relevant, even though Cooper Kupp's back. So Matt Stafford, that's definitely pass-heavy offense, especially with Kyron Williams out for the foreseeable future. So, and that running back field definitely doesn't have a guy to go to right now. So we'll see if they make any moves in free agency or what they'll do there. But definitely look for that pass-heavy offense moving forward for the Rams yet again. And then just lastly, I would say whoever is starting in the Miami backfield, I would just play them because it seems like whoever's starting gets like 20 points and a touchdown and maybe even a passing touchdown. It's like, I don't know what that head coach, he must be a running back, schematic guy, but they could plug in. And even Salvin Ahmed, I think he had like 13 points this week. Just crazy what they're doing in that backfield. But that's all I had for the studs for the week. I don't know if anyone else wanted to add any more, but if not, Jack, you could start off with the duds.
Yeah, my first thought is, the guy that you mentioned, Puka. I think with, Cooper Kupp being back, I have here that he only had 7 targets for 4 catches. 4 catches for 26 yards. I think that's a big fall off after his previous weeks in fantasy. I think there's something to be said for Cooper Kupp being back to that lead wide receiver role on the Rams. They did have a dominant win over the Arizona Cardinals, which is kind of surprising that Puka didn't get as many looks as Cooper. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. Another dud I have is Mr. Kirk Cousins. He had a close win against the Bears. He only had 181 passing yards. There's more to be expected from that man and that high-powered offense. I know with Justin Jefferson being out, you can obviously see that. The play from him he doesn't have his lead wide receiver. He was looking for Osborne. Jordan Addison stepped up this week. He's just looking for someone to take Justin Jefferson's spot while he's out. The last guy that I had, as we mentioned before, is Mr. Devontae Adams. 2 receptions off 5 targets for 29 yards. Just back-to-back bad weeks for my man. He's my top player, top wide receiver, top second-round draft pick, I believe, in my 14-team league. So he's not playing like one, but hopefully he bounces back this week. But those are my 3 duds for this week. Alex,
what about you?
Who, me or JB?
Alex.
I'll go. Okay, I'll go. Mr. George Kittle. Not in the league that Jack and I are in. Other league, I got Mr. George Kittle. Has some explaining to do for his 1 reception for 1 yard performance. Not acceptable by any stretch of the imagination for this fantasy owner here. Although with all these injuries to basically half the offense, you would think that he'd probably get more targets going forward. But it's just been a very up and down year for him overall. You don't see too many of these stat lines for him, but that's dud number 1 for me. Said this name before, but DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, he's fallen off this year, and I know he doesn't have stable quarterback play. I know Tannehill was kind of banged up and he wasn't playing well, and Malik Willis isn't anything fantastic. But one catch for 20 yards too. That's not going to cut it either. And then one more for me. We're going to go back to Devontae Smith. He was a projected top 15 wide receiver coming into this year. The last couple games, it just seems like any games that AJ Brown has a big game, he just kind of disappears. But only 5 catches for 44 yards. It's a little bit concerning going forward. The Jets kind of exposed Philly's pass game a little bit this week, and he's on a little downward spiral. How about you, JB?
So I have as my first one, Marquise Hollywood Brown, over at the Cardinals. He hasn't been doing phenomenal this year, but at least around 70, 90 yards each game, touchdown here and there. Last game he had 11 targets, which is what he usually gets, and only had 34 yards. So pretty big fall off for him. Unfortunately, I didn't have him, but the person I played against had him, and they still ended up beating me. Don't ask me how, because I don't even know. And then my other dud I have is Jalen Hurts, which personally I watched that entire game, and I think he played phenomenally. But he did have 3 interceptions, which is a big hit. I think he ended with 12 points, and he usually averages 20 plus. So pretty big drop off. But as I said, I really don't think it was his fault. I think he's going to come back and hopefully do good next week. I'm not sure, because after Lane Johnson got injured, the line really couldn't do much, and he was scrambling every single play, which led to a lot of the interceptions. So if Lane Johnson doesn't come back, I'm kind of nervous for that Eagles team, to be honest with you, because it seems like he plays a huge part in that O-line and protecting and the run game and everything. So, but yeah, that's what I have for my duds.
You worry about the touch push.
Worried about the touch push, man.
Seriously.
Touch push ain't the same.
The Eagles are the only ones who can do it, so everybody else is trying, but they're not succeeding like the Eagles.
The brotherly shove, the touch push.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, guys. I tried a tush push Saturday night. It went pretty well.
Oh, jeez.
Boy, Tom,
Oh, gosh, dog.
Oh, my goodness.
that's our host, boys.
This is a family show, please. I mean, what exactly are you guys talking about?
We know that you slid a little comment to tell Dom to say that.
I can neither deny nor confirm that.
Chris is wondering why he wasn't invited.
No, I'm not wondering anything at all.
It's that flow that Dom's got going on, man.
It's working out pretty well so far, but to round out the turds of the week, or the duds, I'll start off with Russell Wilson. Definitely thought he'd go into Denver, ball out, especially with one of my favorite head coaches of all time, Sean Payton. But, this experiment seems like it's coming to an end already. I mean, the people in Colorado kind of want Russell Wilson out already. Sean Payton's angry. Doesn't seem that Russell Wilson's fitting into his scheme. And I don't know, maybe Russell Wilson started smoking weed out there. I don't know what's going on, but 100 yards only, that's not very good. And he's losing to some pretty bad teams week in and week out. So I'm actually, before I continue with my duds, I kind of wanted to throw out a question. What everyone thinks is going to happen to Russell Wilson by the end of the year, just because, a lot of news outlets are already kind of expecting maybe either he gets sat or traded. So I wanted to hear, I guess, JB, you could start off with your opinion first.
I wanted to start with this opinion because I never thought Russell Wilson was good, to be honest with you.
Oh!
Hot takes right here.
Listen, I'm sorry, okay? But even back when they won the Super Bowl, I mean, he had the one really good year, okay? But I don't know, I just never thought his accuracy was the best, and his legs kind of made up for a lot of that. And he, always threw interceptions. So I don't know. I hope they sit him. I would have been sat him. That's just my hot take on it. So
I think for the amount of money that he is getting paid right now, I feel like their last-ditch effort is having him one more year under Sean Payton, see if they can kind of iron things out in the offseason. And then my guess would be that they do that just for how much money he's getting paid. And I would think if they're in a similar situation by like Thanksgiving next year, I could see them trading him.
I hate to agree with Alex, but
I am right.
Yeah, I got to watch that game. I started Russ this week, so I was pretty invested in his success. That was not there. It just seems like the scheme that they have, they're still working out with him. I mean, he's very much a rollout quarterback. I saw him under center a decent amount. Jerry Jeudy is a wide receiver that's a head case. He's a head case and a half.
Do you guys see Steve Smith's comments about him?
No, what were they?
From the NFL Network. He basically called him like a sorry ass receiver.
Yeah, he kept describing this terrible receiver, and then at the end he's like, when teams come to me, if they want to trade for Jerry Jeudy, I'm going to tell them not to. I was like, so yeah, I don't know how much help Russell Wilson's getting receiver wise. Courtland Sutton, feel like he's injury prone all the time too. So I think they give him one more year. I think they play out the season. But, yeah, I think these are good questions to be asking, and time will tell.
Yeah, it's telling when someone named Courtland Sutton is, your number one wide receivers. That guy belongs in, the PNC building, doing accounting. But I don't know. I wanted to, before I finish out with my duds, I kind of wanted to propose a surprise trade, and I was wondering what you guys would do. This is more for the real life, but there would definitely be fantasy impact if this trade went through. But Kenny Pickett is also someone who, people were questioning his ability to play. So I'm wondering if you would take, and Jack could start with this one. If you would trade Russell Wilson for Kenny Pickett plus Najee Harris, would you take that trade?
We're talking real life, or we're talking real life?
Real life.
No, we're talking fake life. What do you mean? Is this real life?
Well, is this a fantasy thing?
Oh, no, this is real life, Alex. Welcome to the show. I don't know. I mean, somehow the Steelers are at the time. I know they had a bye week this week, so they're not. I know the Ravens are number one in our division now, but I think the reality with Kenny, as bad as it looks this year, he's pulling out wins. Russell's just not winning football games. I know we have a defense that's showing up. I don't know much about the Broncos defense, so I don't know how much is to blame on the other side of the football for the Broncos. I just don't. Just the age thing, I think, for me with Russell. I mean, if we're trying to build a team around someone, I don't know if Russell's the guy that we want to target. I think there's other mid-tier guys out there. I know Kirk Cousins they're talking about too, potentially trading to the deadline. I don't know how realistic that is either. I know we're focusing on Russ, so I'll get back to Russ. But I just think the consistency, isn't there from Russ. But I like the conversation though. Alex, JB, what are your thoughts?
I would say no. I'd say honestly, because of the college quarterback talent that's coming out of this draft, I wouldn't trade for him right now. I would only trade for a solid quarterback right now, if anything. But unless he got any better, I would not do that, and I would just focus on draft if we're looking to move off of Pickett.
Yeah, it's a quick no for me. Not much more to be said. Russell's no good anymore. Najee, I don't even know why he's even put in this trade. He doesn't mean anything, honestly. I could have just said Kenny for Russell. And I would still say no. I have to agree with Jack. The age thing is huge. If we're taking Russell, then we got to be expecting to win something here soon. And can Russell do that for us? I don't think so. So I just have to say no.
Well, there you go. I'll take the opposite side. I don't think we'll ever win a Super Bowl with Kenny Pickett. But Russell Wilson, he's been to the Super Bowl. He's won one. So I have a little bit more faith in him. I'm just very confused how he hit a wall so quickly, but I'll move off Russell Wilson.
Yeah, could be the coaching.
Yeah. I hate to admit it might be Sean Payton just because I'm a Saints fan, even though I live in Pittsburgh. But I guess my last bust, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor. He just signed that huge contract. And 10 points or less the last 2 weeks. He's fully healthy, so you expect more from him. But I am hopeful for the weeks to come just because, Anthony Richardson is out and Gardner Minshew isn't going to be running as a quarterback. So Jonathan Taylor will definitely get those touches moving forward. I know Zach Moss is doing well, but I think he'll eventually slowly fade into the background. I expect Jonathan Taylor is probably going to demand the ball more. I think he's only had 10 touches. So they might just be easing him in the first 2 weeks he's been back. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, he's doing better because he's my running back one behind Alvin Kamara right now. So why don't we transition to the next topic? Let's go to the Week 6 waiver wire moves. I think there's a handful of players to look at with the injuries and, all things considering. Jack, why don't you start off with this one if you have any waiver wire pickups for the week?
Yeah, I have my boy Tyrod Taylor. I don't know what it is with me and the Giants, but I don't know.
Jeez.
Tyrod, say it, Alex. Go ahead.
No,
That's
you
what I
were the
thought.
Giants.
That's what I thought.
You went from saying that they were sorry and then you liked them.
I don't know how Jack wins at fantasy football.
I don't either.
I don't get that.
Nobody asked your opinion.
Are you trying to tell? Well, I'm, I got my hand on the button, so I get to say what I want whenever I know how to push the button.
Just a bad
what the hell? Honest to God, what the hell is going on with your Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor love?
They almost beat the Bills.
Almost doesn't.
9 points.
I'm an old guy, and almost matters in horseshoes and hand grenades. All right, if you got 14 points and the other guy got 13, you get a W. That's all that matters. And Tyrod Taylor is horrible. He is horrible.
Yeah, you tell him, Chris.
I can't wait till next week. I
get to say what I want to say because I'm old. And Tyrod Taylor, God bless him. He plays in the NFL and he's better than I am. But he's horrible. I don't understand this Giants fascination you have. Can you explain?
Mostly for Darren Waller because Darren Waller is my boy.
Darren Waller's your boy?
Yeah.
How is he your boy?
I feel targeted on this show this week, Chris.
What did you say?
I feel targeted on this show.
I am. I'm targeting you directly.
Your takes are terrible today.
We haven't had a take yet today. What do you mean?
I want to know
this
how.
Is my first take.
I want to know how Darren Waller is your boy. What does that mean?
He's just a guy that I'm high on this year. Similar to James Cook. Darren Waller with a new team with the Giants.
Yeah.
He's top 10 tight end.
Yeah.
I'm still high on him this year. I'm just trying to find him a quarterback that's going to throw him the ball. And I think Tyrod Taylor is that quarterback.
Well, good luck.
Thank you, Chris.
Good luck. You're welcome, Jack. And the other thing I want to say, look, just so I'm not beating you up the whole time. Dom, what in the hell was up with that Kenny Pickett for Russell Wilson thing? Where was your head? I mean, why in God's name, first of all, would they want to take that contract? I mean, I don't know.
That's exactly.
Good point.
Okay. And I personally am completely confused by Russell Wilson right now because he was a good quarterback in, albeit the same system for years with Pete Carroll. And he goes over to Denver, and I don't know if John Elway is still involved in Denver, but if he is, They got to get him out of there because he brought Peyton Manning in and they won a Super Bowl. So he's following the same playbook. And they bring in Russell Wilson and he shits the bed. And then they bring in Sean Payton, who, sorry, Dom, his time's up. He's an old school coach. You know, he's like a Mike Tomlin. You know, the NFL has passed this guy by, but he's got an ego the size of Mount Rushmore. So they bring him in, pay him a lot of money, and you know, shame on the fans for thinking that somehow that whole thing's going to turn around. I'm going to finish because this is your show, but Denver's defense sucks, by the way, for anybody who was wondering. I just thought I'd bring that up. And don't ever mention Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett in the same sentence. Again, by the way, Kenny Pickett's not the answer.
That we could agree on, even though I'm a Pitt fan. But
We want to keep
We need
going.
to sharpen up, boys. We're getting sloppy here.
All right, I'll do one more if Chris doesn't want to interrupt me this time. Jordan Mason, back up for CMC. He had 4 carries for 26 yards. I think he's going to get looks this week. I'm done. Somebody else go.
JB,
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I was gonna say Jordan Mason as well, so I won't say him, but I do think that he's gonna. I don't know how long McCaffrey's gonna be out, but you know he did show out. I think they have another. I think Elijah Mitchell played some snaps as well, or I think that's his name, but he didn't do as well. And then as another waiver wire, I have Josh Downs for the Colts. He has the second most targets and receiving yards, and Alec Pierce is injured. So I think that his production is going to go up next week, and I think that he's going to. Why are you smiling, Dom? What are you smiling at?
no, I drafted Josh Downs in my dynasty, so
Oh, okay.
keep on saying the good thing.
Yeah. I think that he's a good waiver wire pickup. He's gonna.
Well, Tom's roster baiting over here. Holy crap!
Wow, the family show.
That's all I got, though.
I know Chris is sitting over there laughing right now.
Alex, why don't you finish us off here?
Okay. So I got Curtis Samuel, wide receiver, Washington. Last 3 games, 50-plus receiving yards, 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games. Pick him up. You need a flex position. Tight end, Michael Mayer from Vegas. He has increased his targets. He's had last 4 games, 3, 3, 6, and 6 targets. Got a couple touchdowns last 2 games. You need a tight end. Tight ends are real scarce around right now. You need to pick someone up on a bye week. He might be your go-to right now. His stats are ascending the last couple weeks.
And I might have to get him over my dude Goddard. Thank you for that.
What do we
No
think
problem,
about Mr. Julio Jones coming back?
He's one of my waiver wire.
Eagles fly.
Yeah. Let's see if he gets a resurgence here. But I had Julio Jones as one of my pickups. He's going to the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's definitely a good handcuff if, if Devontae Smith goes down or AJ Brown goes down. We'll see if he, fades into the background, kind of like OBJ is. But I think if you're in a deeper league, definitely pick up Julio Jones. He's one of my waiver wire pickups for the week. I also have James Robinson. I don't know if you guys have seen, but he's being checked out by the Packers, and they're thinking of signing him right now. So if that's the case, he's definitely a good handcuff if you're dealing with AJ Jones, just because, that injury is kind of lurking, as Jack said. I also have Leonard Fournette. This is maybe a big one here. The Bills are thinking of actually signing him just because of how bad James Cook has kind of been the past few weeks. Cook isn't really what they're expecting, so I could see, them signing Leonard Fournette to get those heavy rushing yards into play, because I think them relying on Josh Allen so much. I think defenses are kind of figuring that out, and that might be why they're not scoring as many points as they are right now. Just because there's virtually no running threat in that offense. And when it was draft time, I actually thought they'd take a running back, but they ended up taking a tight end, which I drafted in one of my leagues, and he is not performing at all. He's had like maybe 10 points total all year. So Dalton Kincaid definitely, I would say, is one of those rookie flops. And then lastly, I'm going to say Gardner Minshew. I think it's going to be Minshew mania for the rest of the year. So I wouldn't start him next week against the Browns just because that defense is so lethal. But I think, there's 10 games after next week. So if you're dealing with one of those injured quarterbacks, there was like 6 this past week, and those injuries are all kind of lingering at the moment. I'd say, you'd have to rely on Gardner Minshew right now if you're in a 10 to 12 team league. But yeah, that was my round out for the waiver wire pickups. We only have like 15 minutes left, so why don't we hop into our next segment of the Week 7 must starts. Who are you playing with full confidence next week? JB, do you want to start this one?
Yeah, I'll start this one. I say Breece Hall. Breece Hall is back, man. He's showing out. He didn't do as good as he did last week, but he still had a tutty. Still had like 40 yards. So, yeah, I'd have to say Breece Hall. And to go off what Alex was talking about a bit earlier, if you got Adam Thielen, you better start him. It's about time. Back-to-back 15 target games. He's the number one target. He's getting the yards after catches. I mean, like he's an old head, but he's showing out, man. So that's who I would say must starts for this upcoming week.
Got 2 defenses to start this week.
Wow, Alex, that's great.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. 2, not just 1.
That's incredible.
Cleveland's defense against Indianapolis. Cleveland has been, coming off that big win against San Fran, going in against the back. I know Gardner Minshew's the pickup for you, host, but him coming in as the backup, JT just coming back, getting his feet wet back on the field. Got to go Cleveland's defense against Indy. And then, this is almost obvious. Got to start the Commanders' defense against the Giants. If we've been following the trend of this show, that's a guaranteed I'm just going to say probably 15 points next week.
I cannot
guarantee.
Because if we haven't established it already, the Giants stink.
It hasn't been established, actually. We should have a little side bet going on this, Alex. I'll talk to you after the podcast.
Are you a Giants fan, Jack? What's going on here?
I am a Giants fan until I'm not, which could be week to week. So we'll see. But my must start this week is at Detroit Lions, their quarterback, Mr. Jared Goff. The Detroit Lions have just been tearing up teams. I mean, their defense is unbelievable. They're holding teams to, last week, 6 points. They're blowing out teams. Unlike most of these games in these leagues, are tight games. But the Detroit Lions are consistently blowing out teams, which is great. I think they're 5-1, I believe. And they're playing the Ravens this week. Lamar, we saw them with the Steelers. The Ravens are an unpredictable team. I'm excited. Hopefully that'll be a shootout. I don't think it'll be a slow-paced game. So hoping for big Jared Goff to keep showing out. Jacoby Myers, talked about him last week, 2 weeks ago. With my boy Devontae Adams not getting looks, someone's got to get throwing the ball. So Jacoby Myers is my other start this week. I want to say defense, Alex. I don't want to say the Giants defense, but
I think you're going to say like 5 kickers.
I don't have a kicker this week. My boy, Justin Tucker, you can always start. I don't really have Sam Laporta, another Detroit Lions guy I really like. He's always been a must start for me. I don't have a kicker this week. Brett Maher, my boy from the Rams.
There you go.
He's always, I mean, he was number 1, I think, kicker. Unbelievable stats. So for me, he's always a must start. If you have to ask me for a kicker, he's going to consistently be my number 1 because he is the number 1 kicker this year. So that's all I got this week.
Yeah, I actually was going to mention him. He's been outscoring Chris Olave some weeks for me and definitely helping me win on my 4-2 team. So definitely wanted to mention Mayer, however you pronounce it, on the Rams. I feel like not a lot of people even maybe know about him as a kicker, but definitely fantasy relevant this year. And then I'm going to mention, the Austin Eckler of the Bayou. People were out on him all year because he got in that, little scuffle. Not too big of a deal, but he was out for 3 games, came back. Alvin Kamara, he's been scoring 20 points, 17 points, and 19 points this week. So I expect his play to continue. He's lethal in the catching game. I need him to score a little bit more, in the red zone, but he's proving to be his old self. And he's never had a season less than 250 points. So I'm looking for that to continue this year. I don't have a lot of faith in Derek Carr, so I could see them continuing to use Alvin Kamara even more in the running game as we move forward. But yeah, I want to keep it short and sweet. Alvin Kamara, he was kind of my go-to guy for the stardom next week. I might throw in Zay Flowers because, as Jack and Alex said, I think the Lions and Ravens game, that could be a shootout, kind of like how the Lions-Seahawks game was earlier this year. It was 37-31. So maybe start Zay Flowers with confidence. Mark Andrews. He hasn't been too flashy this year, but, I expect him to stay within that top 5 tight end range. So he's going to score those points eventually. So I'll round out the week 7 stardoms with Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews off the Ravens. And then I guess we could transition to the week 7 sit-ems. I have a few here. I don't know if you guys do as well, but JB, who are you absolutely benching for this week coming up?
Cam Akers.
Amen.
He's
to
just
that.
he's not getting the production. He's not seeing over 30% of the snaps. Got 2 touches last week. He's just not it right now. So I think that's a guaranteed sit 'em. Dalvin Cook too is just not being used. Same as Cam Akers. So yeah, those are my 2 sit-ems for the week, I would say.
Jack, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's tough to sit Devontae Adams. I mean, just his name in general, it's just hard to put that man on your bench. I think in terms of starting, I mean, just thinking right now, Derrick Henry's always back and forth just with consistency. But I have to start him this week because Joe Mixon's on a bye. So he's my stardom, usually sit him. I think a sit him this week is Zach Moss. I think JT is going to get the majority of the snaps this week. I think he's going to get all the fantasy points, and I think Zach Moss had a good run, but I think his time is up. So he's probably my sit him this week.
Got
Alex?
Kirk Cousins sit him against San Fran's defense. I don't think he's going to transition well into not having Jefferson still. San Francisco's defense still healthy on that side of the ball. I don't think he's going to have a fantastic game. And then kind of more double whammy, I would bench Zeke and Ramondre Stevenson against Buffalo's defense. I know it's pretty thin at running back, so you might have to start him. But I think they're going to have a real tough time against Buffalo's defense. I know they're top 10 in rush defense. So I'd be hesitant to do so.
Great analysis.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Kirk Cousins' pick was great. I agree.
Thanks, JB.
If he continues to, do bad, I mean, there's all that trade talk around him. I'm interested to see what the Vikings do.
What do you want to trade? Kenny Pickett? Can't pick it for anyone.
I mean,
Get Chris back in here, please.
I'd take Kirk Cousins, but I really don't trust the coaching right now in Pittsburgh. But to round out the Week 7 sit-ems, I had Devontae Adams. You guys kind of covered that. I'll just mention one more star wide receiver this year. He's currently top 5 in receiving yards, fantasy points. DJ Moore, sitting him until Justin Fields gets healthy. I don't even know who the backup is in Chicago, so I don't see – DJ Moore's kind of up and down as it is, so I don't see the backup quarterback, giving him those fantasy points that owners are going to expect. So I'm out on DJ Moore for right now. And then, as always, I had Russell Wilson here. Even though he surprisingly has, I think, 12 touchdowns this year, it's just not equating to fantasy points as we would expect. He's averaging like 15 or to 18 points. Usually you want your quarterback to score 20 or more points. But just to wrap out, we like to wrap out the week with our picks of the week for, what's going to be the best game. So with our last few minutes left, Jack, why don't you start off with your game of the week for the upcoming week?
I kind of like Atlanta and Tampa Bay. I know we talked a little bit about Baker Mayfield. I guess to add a sit-em because I'm not a Baker Mayfield fan. I think he had his time in the spotlight this year, but I think after this week, it's going to go back to how it should be. I think there's a lot, both like average teams. I think there could be a lot of points there. Bijan Robinson's my boy in one of my leagues. I'm hoping that he starts to put up more fantasy points than he has been. Yeah, so that's my game of the week. I mean, there's also the Giants are playing the Commanders, and I'm high on Tyrod Taylor this week. It's the last time I'm going to say it. Someone else can go.
Someone mute him, please.
You can't. You're not allowed.
All right. Miami versus Philly. Battle for Bama quarterbacks. A ton of wide receiver talent. Great quarterbacks. Look for that game. Hit the over if you're betting on that. I think there's going to be a lot of points in that game. JB?
Just as a backfire, I don't think there's going to be that many points in that game.
But I was liking you tonight. All right.
Eagles have like 10-minute drives every game. I think they're going to really try and slow down the pace. But for my game of the week, I got Chiefs Chargers. I think that game might be a little bit of a shootout. But Chiefs defense has been playing crazy. So, either way, see what Herbert can do after that bad performance. Not bad performance, but not as many points as we would have liked.
Don't be mean, man. He's got great hair.
Yeah, he does.
Host.
That's all I got.
You guys listed the 3 I had, but I'll just throw in another one. Thursday night football, Jags versus Saints. We'll see how Trevor Lawrence does with his nagging leg injury. Hasn't been doing too well fantasy-wise, so Colin Cowherd had him in his top 5 quarterbacks this year. I don't understand that just because he's not – I think he has like 7 touchdowns this year, so not doing as well as I would like for my starters. But, yeah, that's the week, guys. I mean, an hour goes pretty quick. Shout out to the viewers for joining us yet again to hear our analysis, shoot the crap with fantasy football each week. I had fun.
So fun. Hope the Giants lose by 40.
We'll see you next week. We'll talk about that for sure.
And your little side bet, whatever you guys have going on.
Darren Waller's my boy.
Thank you, Chris. Let's go take your turtleneck off.
It's cold.
Turn your heat on.